Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to Girl Let's Agree to Disagree with Kemi and Hannah and myself, Jessica Milagros. Hey, ladies!
Hello.
I feel like I haven't seen you all in a long, long time. I always feel that way when we don't do more than one recap a week. Like we miss our Thursdays, and all of a sudden, I feel like it's been a month since I've seen you, ladies.
The weeks are long these days, so I get it. It does feel like it's been more than just a week.
I agree. And while there's a lot of things that are going on in our personal lives, want to go ahead and say hello to everybody who's joining us. Hi, Bryson. Hi, Diamond and Paul. Hi, I'm Moses. As y'all keep on coming in because we were late like we usually are. Click like and subscribe and click to receive those notifications so that you know when we're running late, which is pretty much every day. But and support the show. If you know someone who doesn't know about us, share. Sharing is caring. So go ahead, do that. If you haven't already, click like right now. It helps with the algorithm. And Super Chat is a great way to support us. And if you want us to read your comments or talk about a specific thing that happened, and it was a 3-hour show. So
can we just talk about how grateful I am that not every episode is 3 hours? Because holy shit, I was dead and the first 2 hours I was like, okay, anytime now. I just want this after the final of the rose. That's all I'm here for.
I agree. Oh wait, before we get into it, because I know some people have been chatting. One person in particular, Rayson, said off topic, what happened to our challenge recaps? Thursday happened to our challenge recaps. We apologize. We know it's been 3 weeks, maybe it has been 3, maybe that we have missed. So ultimately our schedules are kind of all off whack and we haven't been able to really get it together on Thursdays. The Big Brother season started again. So recapping BB Canada. Hannah works late. Kemi needs beauty sleep, you know. I mean, to be quite honest, it just hasn't happened, and we feel really bad about that. I'm sorry. More than likely, we probably won't have one this Thursday either, unless you ladies.
We'll be back this Thursday. It's just like our schedules have been like kind of clashing.
It has been.
Yeah. It just so happens that everything keeps coming up on Thursdays. So, yeah, but we will be back this week. For sure.
Kemi says, for sure. If not Hannah and I, Kemi, for sure we'll be recapping on Thursday. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Anywho, so let's get down to this. It was 3 hours long. And I don't want a 3-hour recap. So yeah. Where do we start?
So Michelle.
Yeah.
Here's my thing, right? You know, I love a hometown, like the family visit, right? So Michelle goes and she visits Matt's family, and I'm spoiled, right? So I'm like looking for things going on, just trying to sense if Matt's mom has anything that kind of just jumps out at you when it comes to like meeting Michelle and as well as Rachel. And nothing really jumped out to me aside from the fact that Matt's mom is definitely very emotional. I think it's because she's a boy mom, and anytime a male or another woman enters your son's life, like I feel like it's instinctual to get protective. So absolutely. I just saw that like emotion kind of judging up with her, which I can respect. And then you have Matt's brother, who is literally a carbon copy of Matt. Is so funny. Like they literally look so similar, but are so completely different. Like they couldn't be more different, which I thought was interesting. Jess and I were talking about that yesterday or earlier this morning. And it's so funny when you have two of the same sex, how they come out just to be like complete opposites, or just two siblings in general end up coming out complete opposites more times.
I was a little taken aback. I'm not gonna lie and say I was very taken aback about how different they were.
See, they do.
There was a big significant difference.
They do look alike.
I think they look alike. Yeah.
Night. We were talking about this last night though, and I think he looks like a mixture of, who do we say? We said like Nipsey Hussle, and then I think like Colin Kaepernick. Like that is who I see. I don't know, but yeah, they look like totally different vibes.
This makes sense. B Bean says Matt's brother's a rapper. He has a YouTube channel. So yeah, then that would make sense. I don't know why, y'all, but he looks like a very, very thin DJ Khaled to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's the swagger. Maybe the beard. Yeah, beard, the swagger. I don't know. It was just like all these things he was giving me. Did you like get off so that you could be in a different position, Kemi?
That's what I was gonna say. You just move spots.
She got off so that she could be put like on the other side.
No, Billion was like being weird, so I didn't want to do it on camera.
Wait, look! Someone said he does Jess a little. I thought I was going crazy.
He does.
He's a mixture of all three of them. He's just like, it's a very interesting mix. What I really found interesting was that it looked like they didn't have a preference over Michelle or Rachel. It was just like they liked them both, you know, and I was just like, oh, okay. You know, because sometimes there would be issues. I was expecting maybe there to be this big dramatic thing.
Were though, like kind of like I get the vibe from his mom that like this is just a totally personal opinion, but I get the vibe from his mom that she kind of like has, you know, she's got her own trauma, but that she kind of like pushes that onto him as well.
Absolutely.
And so like he, you know, she's had this experience in these bad relationships and everything. And so like, because that's what happened to her, that is what's going to happen to him. And I do not feel like she was like, I mean, she was sweet to both of the women, like, don't get me wrong, but I think that she is just like doubting the whole thing essentially, and was just like, yeah, y'all are nice, but like he's not going to end up with either of you. That's
yeah.
Yeah, but I respect that though, because she's right. Like, I mean, an engagement's a big deal. So if you aren't ready for marriage, don't just propose and like take away someone's first engagement just because you're on a show where that's the end goal. Like, it's still your life at the end of the day. So I completely agree with what she was saying. Like, if you're not ready, don't try to make yourself ready to appease other people. Like, this is your, like, you have to go home at the end of the day. Like, this is your life. Everyone clocks out and punches their timesheets and like cashes their paycheck, and then you go on to live this life.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of those things. And I think one of the things that hit me the most was just how much generational trauma gets passed down in situations like this. And I honestly think that in this case, while it made for good TV, Matt was definitely not ready to be the very first Black Bachelor. And I'm gonna, you know, keep saying it because I wanted Mike to be the first Black Bachelor. I don't think he was ready. When you see, like, all it took was for his mother to say one thing that she really could have said before he was even on The Bachelor, for him to be like, I'm not ready. You know, there was just like this serious like switch of the of the flip. I think a lot of people, you know, including, you know, reality Steve was like, we kind of knew he wasn't going to get married. You know,
he was having quite the hot boy summer last year. So,
mm-hmm.
and I'm sure he's going to have a hot boy summer this year. So, you know,
I kind of like wonder though, just like as an advocate, like, I don't want to say devil's advocate, I don't like that saying, but like, would anybody have really been like, this is just me wondering, like, would any Black man have thrived in this lead the way that they really set him up? Like, I really
Mike would have.
I
mean, I love Mike.
I
I'm sorry.
Mike would have handled some things better, but like, and wouldn't maybe, because I don't know Mike's like personal whatever. He might have some kind of generational, you know, issues that have been passed down to him. He might have, you know, issues from his own like romantic past, but like, I don't know. I mean, they really like screwed him over. Like, and he really, like, from the start, I mean, he's already got so much pressure on him in being this historical role, and you cast this woman who we know that they definitely knew about all of this stuff. Like, they do extensive background checks on everybody for these reality shows, and there's no way that they didn't know at least some part about this. And we know that they historically have always cast people who they saw it as it would be like drama, when it was really just like somebody who had like a racist past. And I don't know. I feel like he was set up kind of to fail, like in that, you know, they completely sweeped him out of Claire's season, where he would have, you know, had a chance to develop as like a contestant like other ones do, and then could have gone on to do this role. But because of
familiarized himself with the production process,
with the production and the franchise, and to have been comfortable with it. And I think that in the midst of everything that was going on, they felt this pressure to do something. And I think in this situation, Matt was like an easy person who was kind of like, not to be mean, but like naive in the fact that like he's going into this. And really, if you've never gone on any of these shows, and we've seen tons of contestants talk about it, you don't have any idea what it's like behind the curtain of like producing these shows and everything, and like the way that you can be like manipulated in this. And, you know, I think Matt has his faults, but I don't think that the bulk of the issues with this season were on him.
Yeah. So, no, I agree. I think that I think that you're right. Like, a lot of times, people behind the scenes like use problematic behavior as like potential drama that could lead to like headlines and drawing more attention to the season. And it's, you know, it's disgusting.
Do you think that, so Obi and I were talking about this last night, and I just wonder, because I know that this year has been like a pretty low year, ratings wise, things like that, you know, viewership levels, all of that. And so part of me wonders, you know, in a way, do you think that this maybe has shown them that like, this is not drama? Like, this isn't drama that people want. Like, this isn't, you know, these kinds of like, people don't want to, this isn't what they want you to be bringing onto the season, like knowingly bringing onto a season.
Yeah, I think so, definitely, because on the one hand, it angers like people like me who are Black, and then even their racist fan base, like it's uncomfortable for them to watch, and then it turns into why does everything have to be about race and blah blah blah? And it's like, well, if people weren't racist, like things would have to be about race constantly. So, and just the way that they've handled a lot of things, like Chris Harrison, or, you know, Emmanuel Acho being after the final rose, like Michelle, you know, we'll get into that, like the Bachelorette announcements. Like, I feel like a lot of things were like okay, this is us trying to put like a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Okay, here's another Band-Aid. Here's some gauze. Like, instead of like just don't shoot people in the first place, and like maybe you could just chill a little bit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree, and we'll get into that. Because really, I mean, like, I think most people know at this point, like, we know how the first 2 hours to me was just like pointless. Like,
I enjoyed the first hour. I enjoyed Michelle. I didn't enjoy how that first hour ended.
I thought it was sad, honestly, because I'm watching all of this and like I know how it ends, and then it's like a whole other level to it now, like knowing how it ends and then knowing how like it plays out in real life after the fact. And like, they talk about it a little bit, but I can't imagine how like just another level of pissed off I would be if that were the situation. And it's like there's this whole other level to it, knowing that you were chosen over someone who had all of this going on too. And like, it's just, I don't know. Well, we can get into that, but
also, like, not to hop ahead to after the final rose, but just to piggyback off what you were saying, knowing that he had these kind of long-term conversations with Michelle that he didn't even have with Rachel, and still chose Rachel. Like, if I was Michelle, and especially Brie, I would be so insulted. Like,
we don't even see Brie.
Yeah,
and we could get into that a little later, because she was at the final rose and it was cut out. So she was literally there, was interviewed, was done all of that, and was cut.
Wow.
Ouch.
Damn. Okay, well, let's finish up the like before that, like the before the after the final rose.
Yeah. So before we talk about like the actual after the final rose, which I'm assuming we'll probably talk about that the most, but we go into the date, Michelle's date. We'll go into Michelle's date. Her seeing the brother and the mom, everything seems to be going well. And then he drops the bomb on her after talking to his mother, and something kind of like hit him, and he realizes that she's not his person.
Well, it was the day. Okay, so it was the day like after. So like the day that they have their like final date or whatever. And so I guess he, slept on it, whatever. And then he just like, it was so strange because I don't know like how, I don't know how production felt about this, but like normally the whole thing is that like you have two women come down expecting a proposal and one of them doesn't get it. And I mean, I guess it didn't matter, but it's just weird to see it all. Like, I feel like so many things this season have been like cut short. Like, 3 or 4 women just leave on their own accord. And then with this, it's like the breakup. This is a finalist and it's like 1 minute. Like 1 minute long. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It was weird. And then we learned from Michelle later on that it was like pretty actually in real time, like 2 minutes long. And then he just like kind of pieces out.
That is like the most upsetting thing to me. Like, how dare you? Like, the entire season have been giving Matt the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Mostly because I think he's cute, but also because he's the first Black Bachelor and like he hasn't previously been a contestant before. So it's like he doesn't know what it's like to be a contestant. But I won't go as far as to say he ghosted her, but like that's how I would have felt. Like, you effectively ghosted me. Like, you cut off all communication with me without allowing me to get closure. And why? Like, for what reason? And even after the final rose, like, he didn't really give a reason. And he said, I'm sorry that you felt that way. Like, no, you should be sorry that you caused me to feel this way. Like,
yeah.
To deny someone access to you just because it would likely make you uncomfortable is like it's just so hurtful. I can't even imagine what she was going through.
Yeah, and I just don't get it. Like, I feel like in any relationship, you know, it is a two-way street. You both are like actively like participating and like consenting to be in this relationship. And I feel like for that to just like abruptly end, unless it's like a situation of, you know, abuse or something like that, you owe the other person like an ending or at least like a conversation. Like
but
there
that
may
was
not be a
yeah,
reason, but they
that would
didn't even
be
have a conversation. She didn't get to ask like questions because she was just in shock.
But I feel like that would be in any normal situation, not with a man who was taught that that's how you deal with things. Subconsciously, that's exactly what his father did to him. So like he doesn't know that he's repeating the same behavioral patterns that his father is creating. Like his father last week wasn't, did the same thing. He wasn't acknowledging Matt's pain. He wasn't acknowledging what he had done. He was just like, okay, like,
but
it's done and it's done.
But if he is on the receiving end of that and he knows how that feels, and his entire thing is he doesn't want to be like that, I would think that he would go out of his way to make sure he doesn't repeat that same toxic behavior.
And you do, and I think, and
be like more cognizant of it. Like when you have a parent who is a certain way, or you've been raised a certain way, like I feel like you would be more aware of that in a way. Like I don't know.
Yeah, and I agree. He probably is more. He probably is more aware. But just because he's more aware of that doesn't mean that he knows how to tell all of those signs. Like he still only knows how. If you only know how to love one way, or maybe you've never loved before, you don't know how to love. You don't know what like these women. I mean. Apparently these are like his first real relationships with women. So this is like him going into, a completely new territory because he didn't see it growing up. Like if you see even like, I guess what I would probably say is like, look, there's things about my parents that I don't like. And I try really hard, really fucking hard to not be that way. And sometimes when shit goes down, I'm like, I'm my mother, or oh my God, this is happening again. And I tried so hard for that not to repeat itself. Like it's just a behavioral pattern. I mean, and obviously it takes time. Maybe he's not going to therapy. He's not doing this. Maybe hopefully he's looking at this and he's maybe learning how to not. I mean, look, he was kissing with his eyes open, for crying out loud.
Didn't he tweet today and he was like, Google, like, show me therapists in my area? And I was like, this is a joke, but also, yes, you need to do this. I think everybody can benefit from being in therapy. So like, there's no shame in that or anything, but like, you very obviously have some things that need to be worked through.
I honestly don't even think he was joking. Like I honestly do not think he was joking. Like
I hope not. Like
how did you feel like a month, not a few days after Big Brother, but like, oh girl, Survivor, but like a month after? It's always like that month.
How did I feel a month after?
Yeah, like your feelings like immediately after versus like about a month or two out were like completely different, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I could and look, I can honestly say that as of right now, almost a year and almost 2 years from actually going in that door, like I am finally finding my happiness. Like back, like kind of getting back the old Jessica that was prior to being on the show, before like hopes, dreams, and like people crushed them. You know
what? I would say Ovi would say the same thing right now. Too. It's taken, honestly, like until this point, probably within the last couple months, for it to be like at that level again.
Yeah. And so I honestly think that Matt's going to look at this, and I mean, who knows if he's going to have a hot boy season. I honestly would not think so. I think he's a very smart man, and although emotionally maybe all over the place, and he's going to be more guarded with that, and because he knows that he's in this public eye. Like before Hot Boy Summer, when he was Tyler's friend, it's a very, very complete different situation of Hot Boy Summer after all of this shit went down. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it's very apparent right now that he is very aware of how public is perceiving him, hence the whole not really forgiving Rachel, or just like just being like, peace out, like I can't be attached to you. We'll go into that, but I
wish a Hot Boy Summer on him, honestly. Like I hope that he has, if that's like what will bring him like just fun, like I hope he enjoys his summer, whatever that looks like. I hope it's not a relationship. I doubt it will be, but like, yeah. Hopefully they don't try to contact him for Paradise. Like, could you imagine?
Oh, there's no way they do. There's absolutely no way. I feel like that they do. But let's like kind of just gloss over, because I really want to talk about after the final rose. So like when
what really happened with Rachel, aside from, I did want to point out that awkward moment with Chris Harrison arriving to her.
Him just like leaned up on the door.
Rach. Like, now it's clear to me that he probably had like a little bit of a crush on her, and that's why he was going to bat for her against Rachel Lindsay.
I kind of thought so too. You know, maybe not even like a conscious like crush or anything on her, but like you could definitely see that he was very comfortable around her. Like he liked her. And you know, I think that part of that is probably because she like, to me, she emulates a lot, like, or has a lot of the characteristics of a lot of like previous leads to me, and ones that make it really far. So I think I think that's the kind of woman that he is really comfortable being around.
I think also, like, isn't he from Oklahoma or something? Like, he's from like a smaller town in the South. I think, to me at least.
Oklahoma is not the South.
What is it?
Kelly doesn't know.
Oklahoma is in that whole area of the country that's like what is that? Like,
it's like mountainous, like near the, it's like middle of,
it's right
it's
above,
like
it's not right above Texas.
It's not right above Texas.
Oklahoma is I will literally bet you guys any amount of money, because I drove from Dallas to Oklahoma. Like, Oklahoma's right above Texas.
You know what? I'm going to look this up. Map of the country.
Well.
But yes, I think that she just gives off like, you know, like maybe somebody he might have, like, she embodies characteristics of someone he's might have known, or like reminiscent of like, you know, a friend or girlfriend, just like you said, like someone who he's comfortable with, but because she seems familiar to him.
Okay, it is kind of above Texas.
It's not kind of above Texas. It's literally the state up from Texas.
Okay, but nobody thinks of Oklahoma when they think of the South.
I literally think...
You think of like Tennessee and Mississippi and Alabama.
You do, because you are actually in the South. Us Northerners, anything below Maryland is the South, until you get over to like Arizona and California. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, Montana is the South. It's just not in the South. Like, when I say the South, I mean like Southern mindset. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like Midwest, it's giving South. It's giving South.
Well, you know what? That's a whole other conversation, but we have areas that are not Southern mindset.
Yeah,
it just depends on where you are.
Miami.
Miami. No, Florida.
Miami, the South. Yeah, Miami is the South.
Anyways, whatever. Oklahoma, Texas. Anyways, I'm pretty sure. So,
yeah.
Okay, yes, I think he was very comfortable with her, and it showed. I do think he had like a little bit, maybe not like a crush, but I think he liked her for sure. Like even if he didn't know that much about her, he like liked her. So it was very weird to me, and that stood out immediately. But her outfit was cute. I'll give her that. Her little like
Oh, she's a
Which
very
one?
pretty girl. Her stuff. Which one?
it was like the all black outfit with like the leather pants, or maybe they were like the
oh yeah, I think that was cute. And then her dress she wore at the very end was really pretty. I thought it looked really good on her. I mean, I think she's a beautiful girl.
Absolutely. I mean, she's. I mean, we were talking about this not too long ago. Is that she? If you go to our very first recap of The Bachelor, like she was a front runner. She was. We all really, really liked her. You know, she like Rachel was just like, ooh, and Rachel, yeah, we like Rachel. Like,
Well, she's just really pretty. Like, and she kind of has that look that's like to me, she's kind of like a mixture of like a Mila Kunis and like that kind of vibe. You know, really pretty with dark hair, but then like the eyes that kind of pop. Like, I don't know. She's just like very conventionally really pretty. But anyways, he decides he's not gonna propose to her, which is smart, especially in retrospect. But like, you can see kind of, I liked watching the journey of like her face during that conversation, because like it kind of goes from like to like, and then like smiling again. So
I could not. I tell you, like if that happened to me and he said, but we can, we could be buddies, or I don't know, we could be boyfriend and girlfriend. I'd be like, after the shit that you put me through, are you serious right now? Like, go
see,
somewhere.
I think that it's honestly a lot more realistic for most of these seasons to end in you just like being in a relationship as opposed to you being engaged. But I think that like, especially even if I were in those shoes, like even thinking that now, I think I'd just be so offended that you didn't want to propose to me when that's the whole premise of the fucking show. That I would be like, this is so embarrassing to me. Like, why?
It almost feels like a rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I like you, but not enough to do this.
Yeah. And I was like, well, being like also said, was she ready for a proposal? I think she was. Absolutely. She was like head over heels for him.
Yeah. And I think she's 24, right?
Yeah, she's 24. She's not, I mean, she definitely wasn't the youngest one there. And I mean, to be fair, I mean, 24, I don't think is still, I'm turning 23 in like a week. I don't feel ready to be married, but everybody is on like different pages.
I mean,
even in the South,
not to air anybody's dirty laundry, but I have a family member who like already was on her second marriage at 24. So like,
everyone has their
everybody's
own
different. Yeah, everybody's different.
And especially here, like, I mean, Rachel, like we said, she's from Georgia. And if it's anything like it is in Tennessee, which it probably is because they're right next door, 24, you're probably one of the mid to later groups of your, like in the group of your friends to get married. Like 24 is not super young to be getting married here. So
no. Meanwhile, up in Maryland, and like I feel like especially in New York, like women are getting married in like their early to mid 30s.
I think that's smart.
I think I read somewhere that the average now is before it was 22, and now it's gone up to 26 as a median age of marriage.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of that goes to like people, this is a whole other conversation, but like more resources, people have more options, and they don't feel like they have to be married because of financial reasons and things like that. So, but anyway, not here. Not here.
And Jess and I talk quite frequently about one specific conversation that was had between me and someone who shall not be named about marriage and the nuptials that are attached to it, and how that factors in to just the decision to get married, and then what it looks like coming out of that marriage. Because I honestly feel, well, we don't need to get into that, but like prenups in like 2021 versus like 10 years ago, I feel like have like a huge impact on just everything, honestly.
Yeah.
I agree. But anyway,
Steve and I didn't get engaged until like we talked about credit scores. So I'm wondering if that's the shit that they talk about in like in the suites. Like, okay, so credit score. Is it high? Is it lower? Is it right in the middle?
You get done hooking up for the first time and you're like, that was amazing, but
how much do you have?
What is your
do you make? How much do you make? Are we? Yeah, don't ask before because it's gonna kill the mood. Do it after.
Listen, honestly, a good credit score that could set the mood.
Yeah, but a bad credit score is definitely not going to. So I would just prefer the latter and not know, because I already want to. So don't mess it up. It's like, don't talk, don't say anything. Like, it's a sure deal. Just shut up.
I would need so much. I would need credit score, voting records. Like, I would need so much documentation.
Yeah, but he's just like, Rangelita asked all the guys during the fantasy suites about their, which is why you're right, Makisha. That's why she is queen.
And you know what? That's why she got Brian, who definitely, obviously had his shit together. Like, I mean,
worships her.
Good for her.
Yes. No, seriously. Oh, guys, any guys on the show that are watching, get your credit score and fixed before you ask a woman to marry you, please.
Well, also
women too.
Women who are on here, check his credit score before you say yes.
Yeah. It doesn't matter how big that ring was. If he's still not done paying for it, then
just
you're gonna have to pawn off that Neil Lane ring.
Your shit becomes his shit. So that means technically you are gonna be paying off that ring. Come on, we gotta be smart.
Before we move on to after the final rose, can we please talk about Neil Lane? Because I'm gonna write The Bachelor and send them the jeweler engagement ring profile that I follow on Instagram, because Neil Lane is just not quite cutting it. Why do all of the rings have halos? I
liked the one they picked. I thought it was pretty. I did.
It was gaudy, in my opinion. Like, I just personally don't like halos. And I feel like Neil Lane never has options of like a hidden halo, a double hidden halo, no halo.
Sometimes gaudy is good. And you know what? The great Dolly Parton once said, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap.
That's true. Like, look at all the hipsters in this world. Like, you pay a lot of damn money to look poor. They sure do.
I like that ring. But anyways, nobody got that damn ring, so it doesn't matter.
Well,
he looks so scared.
Matt was holding quite a bit, so it definitely got its money's worth for that advertisement space. But,
yeah. So let's go to any finals. Yeah. Any final thoughts? And especially on the chat, any final thoughts about the very finale, how he spoke, any last words?
They seemed really happy at the very end, and it was kind of sad to watch because they did seem like they were really happy and that they had a good connection. So that sucked, but
yeah.
let's go after the final rose because we're gonna be here for a minute.
Yes. Okay. So we get into it. I first want to say that in the chat, people were saying, "Did you all peep the fact that Chris Harrison's voice was introducing Emmanuel Acho?"
I didn't even recognize that. It didn't even click with me.
I only saw it on Reddit.
Yeah,
but it's necessary.
Someone said, "Oh yeah, Addie said didn't like how he just ended things with Michelle." We'll get through that because we also address it on, and they address it on the after the final rose, and I agree. Like, this completely has changed. Like, after the final rose and listening to some of the things that Matt has said has really changed my mind about him in a lot of different ways. Like, I never would have regarded him as performative, and I don't know him, but he's giving me performative vibes.
Why do you say that? Like, what do you mean?
Just from the idea of coming in saying he was afraid of saying what he wanted to say because of how he was going to be judged by white people, by Black people, like the immense amount of pressure that he's under. I feel like the whole season has really come up to this point where he has been trying to be the best version of himself, but in like not saying the wrong things, not saying anything at all, not like where it's like, bro, like stop running around stop running around the situation. Either tell her no or tell her, like, this is ridiculous. You're trying to be too nice of a guy, this unless that's who he really is. And I personally don't believe it, because then you have someone like Michelle saying that he didn't want to see her when she was pleading to talk to him. When you have things that he has done to people behind closed doors that, that we're hearing of from these women. You know what I mean? I can't like say like particularly it's this, but even how harsh he was with Rachel, and we find out that he broke up with her over the effing phone, out of all things.
That's like a whole other thing. So do we want to just tackle let's do the Michelle first and then go to Rachel.
So as far as like Michelle goes, for me, right? Like, I feel like they had an instant connection. Like, it was clear as day on their first date when they went on like the hot air balloon, and they just immediately clicked. Oh my God, like, let's count down to say like what we're having, how many kids we're having. 1, 2, 3, 3. Like, they were just so simpatico. So, and then she gives him these freaking jerseys. And the entire time, like, you just hear his voice in the background in like their little confessional. And I'm just like, my heart is breaking for her because she just looks so happy. But he's just like waiting for the right moment to cut in to break up with her. And it's just like, it's just so sad. And then to find out that he didn't even give her the chance to say her piece and like have closure and like have a healthy breakup. Like, I don't understand how you can go from having like an instantaneous connection with someone and having them as your final two and then just being so cold to them. Like, that, I will agree with you, Jess. Like, that completely changed my opinion on him. I was just like, the whole time I thought he was just like not the perfect bachelor, but I thought he was a really, really good bachelor. Like, I thought he handled things really well. Some breakups were a little bit weird, but I thought he handled a lot of things very, very well up until that. Like, that was weird. So, not even weird. Like, it was very hurtful to see. So, yeah.
Yeah. I hate the fact that she, like, at this point, like, Michelle has just been so I feel like she's just been so open, so honest, so very real. Obviously, she has little kids that are watching. She has people that are watching. So yeah, put your best foot forward. But she, like, there's things where like she is just, you know, leading with her heart and saying all these amazing things. And the fact that she said that she wanted to talk to him just to get closure, not to change his mind, not to do this, like the way she said it, like I could imagine her saying that to production. And why wouldn't production say that to him?
Yeah.
So what are we saying? Are you saying, Matt, that you don't know, that you didn't know how much she was hurting? You didn't know that she wanted to talk to you? You didn't know she was feeling that way? Was production was just like, hey, Michelle wants to talk to you. Do you want to talk to her?
Yeah.
I have to say, like, I have a hard time believing that
But Heather got on the show. Heather got on the show and got a chance to talk to him. And he had taken time away from women to talk to Heather. However, your final two, the one who wants just a second for closure, just wants to just wants to get things straight, is crying her ass off, is like, production is calming her the fuck down. And you're not going to talk to her because you didn't know?
I feel like
It's
just like he was so, it just feels like he was so like unsure and like indecisive, and that like when he finally made up his mind about it being Rachel, that he was just like, okay, I'm done with this. I don't want to be around you anymore because I don't want you to change my mind. Like, I don't want you to try to change my mind. Like, I'm done with it. I'm moving past it. But when you are in like a healthy relationship, you don't get to just be done like anytime like that. Like, you don't get to just do that. Like, you owe the other person a conversation. And I guess that's where like the immaturity comes in, if he really hasn't had any serious relationships up to this point, because it's giving me very like high school relationship. Like, this is how like my first high school boyfriend broke up with me, just like ghosted me. Like, and like I can't even comprehend like an adult doing that, because it's just so odd to think that someone would just like, especially on like TV, like where people watch your relationship build and grow and everything, and you just like essentially just cut it completely and not really, it's odd.
And that's another thing, Hannah, like knowing that you're on TV, like that's why part of me is like, was this production? Because let's face the facts. Matt is pretty image conscious. Like, so, and you know that like, if someone's reaching out to you after that kind of breakup and you turn them down, there's a potential that that could be aired on TV. And even if he was cold enough to do that, is it worth like ruining your reputation potentially by like cementing that into TV history? Like, I don't know if he would do that, especially considering how image conscious he is, you know? So I don't know. I'm torn.
Yeah, I don't know. That's really all I feel like there is to say about the Michelle situation until we get to the end.
Yeah, I think that the fact that she basically told him you need like some new vocabulary other than I'm sorry you're going through that. Like it is that. It's like he had the same general thing about like in talking to the women. He talked to each and every one of them. You would have never thought that he liked one over the other, because he pretty much broke up with all of them in the same exact way, shape, and form. You know?
Yeah, he did. It's kind of odd, though. I feel like he cried a lot more with some of the ones in the beginning. Like, I remember, what's her name? Sarah, that, like, left, the one that's apparently dated G-Eazy or whatever. I remember him, like, breaking down from that. And you never know, like, what the stress levels are in, like, situations and, like, what else is going on. But
it's easier the more times you do it.
Maybe, honestly. But anyways, So then we get the Rachel conversation, and it starts out with just Rachel sitting there.
And pictures. They posted the pictures like, oh, and for those of you guys who have never seen this before, here are the pictures in question.
I didn't expect that.
Really?
It was very reminiscent of Julie Chen Moonves during Jessica's HOH reign eviction. It caught me off guard. I didn't expect them to show it. It makes sense why they showed it, but I did not expect it.
It was great, and let me tell you, I wish that I wish we could have had Julie Moonves also like sitting there and like bouncing questions off as well in the way that she did Jack that time, because that was something else. But
it was definitely near and dear my heart.
But this is where I felt like this was the first time where it became like very obvious to me, and you know, probably everyone else, like really why they had chosen Emmanuel to host instead of anyone else. And I don't know, I'd like to hear like what y'all thought about it first. Just I have my thoughts and like how he handled the conversation, how I felt like it went, and then like her response. But I want to know what y'all think.
Well, I honestly think that he asked a lot like deeper questions than I expected the producers to allow him to ask. I also definitely think that he had pre-approved questions and a script, obviously, but I didn't expect him to grill her like that. I thought that they were going to kind of pacify her and take it very, very, very easy on her, and let her cry and, you know, whatever. I do respect the fact that she didn't choose to like fall on stage and play the victim. I really, really, really respected that. And I know a lot of people have conflicting feelings about like the way that she went about answering a lot of the questions. But I will say, I mean, obviously what she did was bad. But at the same time, you know, I'm not sure how anyone would react in that sort of moment, being grilled on national TV, being questioned on national TV, knowing that this is going to air. She's probably trying to be very, very judicious about the things that she says, make sure she doesn't say the wrong thing. And, you know, you really only get one shot at saying something because she's not back there, you know, editing the film together and trying to make herself look perfect. So she's trying to be perfect in the moment. So I honestly really liked the way that she handled things, because I feel like she didn't try to play the victim, which is the most commonly traveled route. And to me, when someone can at least acknowledge the fact that they did something wrong, that's like a step in the right direction, because most people's immediate go-to is to deflect and then talk about how hard the, like, not backlash, but like how hard other people's reactions to what they did, how hard that's been on them. And she didn't do that. So I think she definitely like went the right way.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I think, you know, one of the things I love about Emmanuel Acho is like the fact that he doesn't believe in cancel culture and he just believes in accountability. And I think that he does a really good job in making potentially both sides feel comfortable and be like, he creates a good safe space for people to be able to really understand like what is going through your head. Like, I think the questions that he asked were really good. Like, you know, one that I thought was especially good was like, when did you realize that those pictures were bad? Like, were you in the house thinking, you know, when am I going to tell Matt about these pictures? And she's like, I didn't know that these pictures were bad. It was me. It was my ignorance. It was my this, that, or the other. But he still like had really great follow-up questions. So I really think that, I couldn't imagine, as people in the chat are saying, I couldn't imagine Chris Harrison in this position and having these conversations at all.
I don't think that it would have done any of it justice. And I think that, obviously none of like her apologies or anything like that are like geared toward me. I think that she handled things in that situation the best that I think you could in a lot of ways. And I do think that there is definitely a level, just from like the way that I perceive it, I do think that there is a level of understanding on her part for like what that has caused and like the pain that has caused for, someone that she loved, and also, just a large community of people. But I think that, this is something I talked about last night, like with things like this, it's not just something that you can just put a Band-Aid over. And I think that it's just going to take time. And with that happening, with it being so public and it being such a historical season, it is unfortunate. Like, I do think that there's a level of responsibility now, but or a level of like accountability now. But I do also think that like, it's very unfortunate, because I think that you, as a contestant, and especially as like a white woman and a contestant, I think that you hold a level of responsibility, like what her actions and her past actions and her like inability to recognize any issues with that until after the fact, it took away from a historic season of The Bachelor. And that's really like the end all be all of it, is that, it did like, it distracted from a ton of women that was like a historical, like diverse season. It like distracted from all of that. And I think that you do hold like a level of like responsibility for that. And it's like, you were going on the season of the first Black Bachelor ever, and you didn't even think to like, I'm not saying that like that would have fixed it, but like you didn't even think to like go back and kind of like clean this stuff up. Like you didn't think like it. That's what bothers me in a way, is that like, I feel like if there were this growth from 2018 to 2020, when you go on the show, which there absolutely can be, like 2 years, that is long enough time, I think, for you to grow as a person and, learn that things are not right. But like, if that did happen, why would you still want those things about yourself out there even before you went on the show? Like, why would you not try to like kind of like not leave like harmful things out there in general? I don't know. I don't get it.
So one thing that Matt said that really stuck out to me was he was really hurt by the fact that he had to explain to her why these things are bad. So to me, that sounded like there was initially pushback. Like, on her end. So that's why some things that she says to me, like, I don't know if you can take it at face value, because it's like, are you saying this because everyone's telling you like you were wrong, or do you actually understand why you were wrong? Because it sounds like there were multiple conversations that happened with Matt, and after the first or second conversation, whatever, you still like were at least moderately dismissive, or didn't understand why it was like the magnitude of the situation. And I honestly think that if, like, say Hannah Brown had her controversy last year, and Matt stuck up for her. And I honestly think, like, even though it took, like, I think a week or two for Hannah Brown to make a public statement, I heard that that she initially contacted Matt and like directly apologized to him, like behind the scenes, for if her actions like offended him, et cetera, et cetera. And I know like when people like in our community that have had things come up, when things are, you know, brought to the public, they've come to me directly before they do something public. And it seems like Rachel and Hannah handled the situations very differently. And if Rachel handled it similarly to Hannah, there might have been hope. Whereas, you know, she just or like uneducated or ignorant about things.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. That definitely stuck out to me too, and it definitely feels like there was originally a conversation when things first initially came out, and that she was probably defensive and didn't really like understand the like gravity and the magnitude of it. And I think that's like, God, I guess we can just go ahead and get into the part where, you know, Matt is there, but like, it was really sad, honestly. Like, I felt really sad and just like, not just uncomfortable, but like sad, like watching them, because you can see how just like hurt he is, like about that whole thing. I mean, both of them obviously looked like miserable, but also like him, just like you can see like the pain on his face, and like I genuinely I feel like if now that we know that, if that it had been handled differently, and you know, like she had immediately kind of addressed that, or even, you know, like if coming off their season she would have maybe said something, you know, like, I just want to be transparent with you, like there have been things that I've done in my past that were not okay, and maybe like had she taken that initiative herself, I feel like he would have forgiven her. I really do. And I feel like it was part of it is it being so public, and then that pressure being on him for him to make a decision, and like you're gonna make people angry no matter what you do. But I feel like, you know, him trying to stay true to himself in that, and I really feel like, huh?
And the kids comment. I think you mentioned that like yesterday when we were texting. Like,
yeah,
the kids
talking about, you know, they would bring children into the world, and like you have to have that understanding, because like you regard, like it's kind of like we've talked about Matt in like the beginning of the season and everything, with him being a mixed man, like he's still a Black man, and their children would be Black children. And like, you have to understand, especially if you're going to raise them in certain areas of the country, like you have to understand the implications of that and what that means. So I think that I can't imagine how that felt for him, but it seemed like it was very, very painful for him to like realize that this person that he really like loved doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of saw that too,
but like not like, obviously you can't fully understand what like it's like to be like a lived experience of someone else, but like you can have like there's a level of like knowledge on like what people face, and I really just don't think that she's had that up until maybe the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and actually I was, as I was going to say this, Caitlin said, did you notice when Rachel kept holding his hand and rubbing his back and like put, you know, and how Matt was just like, wait. So I was looking at that, and I was also like, this girl is like comforting him, kind of like, oh, poor thing. Like, let's just, okay, versus being ashamed that you're the reason he's feeling this way. Like not consoling him because, okay, he'll get over it. Like let him cry or let him go through his emotions. And then eventually, you know, this is gonna pass through or whatnot. It's like, girl, don't touch him, don't look at him, don't do like he's feeling these ways because you don't get it, because you don't get it.
It definitely feels very like manipulative to me. Like it, like if he, you know how, because I used to do this. Like if I would go through a breakup and I wanted it to work out, I would do things that reminded them of like why, when we were happy, like touchy-feely things. Oh, like me comforting you, like things like that. So to me, it came off extremely manipulative. And like, first of all, I understand doing that, like works every time, but it's also like, this isn't the time or place for that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was just so uncomfortable in general. And it's, I don't know, I've said this a million times. It's just really like sad, honestly, that this is like how it played out. And, you know, I recognize that like some of that is to the fault. Like some of that is to Matt's fault. Like the way he handled the Michelle thing is messed up and all of that. But like, regardless, like, even if you like make a shitty decision in like how you break up with someone, you still shouldn't get stuck with someone who like causes like a racial like reckoning with the franchise. Like that is just not, they didn't deserve that regardless. I don't know. It just sucks.
One thing that I do, like, this is about to sound so like dark and cynical, but like one positive that I can take out of this entire situation is, you know, you have Rachel Lindsay's season of The Bachelor where you had Lee, who was like very racist. And then you have Matt's season of The Bachelor where Rachel did things that were racist and like people of color would take offense to. And they're two completely different things, but they elicit very similar reactions from like the affected group. And I think that's a huge takeaway for the franchise. It's unfortunate for them that they had to be the platform where different sorts of racism are showcased. But I think just having that televised and cemented in history shows people who are either willfully ignorant or just unaware that there are different types of racism that exist that still both like greatly affect people.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And I think that if anything too, like, I think that this really shows and hopefully, you know, causes people, especially, you know, people where like Rachel comes from and like, I mean, everywhere, but especially in this area, like I knew that those parties happened. Like I obviously have never attended a party like that myself. And like, I don't think they've happened at the school that I went to in a long time, but I knew that they happened. I've seen people, like pictures of people at them, like people, not that I was close with or anything, but like people that I know of distantly. And like, I've known that those happened. And I think that this is a really good, wake up call in a way that like, just because you've like decided to remove yourself from like any of the consequences or like of any of the history of some of these things that you do doesn't mean that it's okay. And I think that this hopefully in a way was like a wake up call for a lot of people in these situations that see like, you know, this isn't just like a one way, like fast track for you to be a influencer and like sell Revolve. Like you do.
Well, I mean, she's still in that. Oh, I would say that she's still probably in that path, given that she has over 500,000 followers. I mean, it's only been growing, you know.
She does, but also, I mean, like, I could be wrong, but I think this is probably the most, you know, attention that a contestant has gotten ever for anything like this, anything negative or anything like this that they have done in their past. Even like you were talking about with Lee from Rachel's season. it was not to this level at all.
Yeah.
Like the public knowledge. And I feel like, you know, if you talk to anybody, even someone who wasn't just like super into like Bachelor world and wasn't reading the Reddits and things like that, I feel like pretty casual viewers would still know.
Yeah, I know, you gotta love. I know, yeah. You basically, that's what you said. She's like, I don't know them hoes. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
what
I know
I'm
that
saying
happens.
is
But I
I'm
don't know.
not friends or associate with anyone who has ever been to a fucking plantation party. But anyway,
Exactly.
yeah, I just I don't know. I don't even remember what I was saying, honestly.
I apologize. I'm so sorry. I just thought that was so funny. I wanted to kind of break up. I know that this is like very, very heavy stuff. So, and we typically don't like, we usually like laugh about it and talk to you and kind of like do it. But these are very serious things, right?
Yeah, it is serious. But I do think that, you know, she might end up doing influencer stuff, and that is what it is. But like, she will always have this like surround her in a way. And like, I mean, I think that when you do things like this and you come onto a season, like, I think in a way that like, it is what it is. Like you kind of, you signed up for that in a way. And then also like, she also says that she lost like the love of her life. So, I mean, I don't think that like, I don't think Rachel is going to be living out her like dream influence situation anytime soon from this. Like, I don't think that that's going to be happening. I think it wouldn't be smart for her to start doing any shit like that for a long time, but I don't know.
I think Bachelor contestants have like, their contracts are weird from what I read on Reddit, but like I heard that they can't even start doing influencer stuff for like 6 months or something. Like, it's very weird. Like, I don't know why.
I could see that. Ooh, I could totally see that. I do think like one of the things, and I think I read in the comments, sorry, I'm seeing a lot of the comments go up, you know, that there is this, you know, there's this narrative that some people are trying to paint as like two black man pinning like against a white woman and just kind of like attacking that. And this is exactly why I say racism exists. Like, if that is the narrative that some people are using, then that's the whole reason that these conversations need to exist. Because in what world like did I mean, Emmanuel Acho, like, he was close to near perfection in how he delivered what he delivered. And it was not, again, not like not like our last episode where we're saying that you have to apologize for being white, but the fact that I think Emmanuel said it perfectly, you know, history, there's some things where history should be remembered, but it doesn't always need to be celebrated, you know, and that's the thing. You don't need to celebrate plantation owners. You don't need to celebrate that shit, because that was you were oppressing.
You would be embarrassed. Like, you should feel embarrassed, like, especially when people are like, oh, why does everything have to be about race? It's like, you're celebrating the old South antebellum parties which were used to celebrate the wealth that you amassed off the backs of slavery. So it's like, it's just
you made it about race. You did, like, from doing that. It's just
not only that, bitch, but like I'm sorry, I've seen her pictures from before when she was younger, and no knock on her, but she's gotten Botox or she's gotten lip fillers or something, which means she's culturally appropriating. She's trying to look like someone else. Why are you trying to have big lips? Why are girls trying to have big booties? Why are they trying to be a certain way? Like, if you're at a point where you're culturally appropriating someone else's culture, you're, like you said, you know, benefiting off of other people's backs and the hard work that they've done, then
well, I think
this is interesting. Do you think that lip filler inherently
absolutely
a cultural?
Who are they trying to look like?
Well, I think what like just drawing it out with what Jess is saying, it's a trend, right? So like lip fillers are 100% a trend. So a lot of people I know who've had lip fillers are dissolving them right now because they're like, oh, I don't need lip fillers anymore, blah, blah. But it's like, I remember in middle school, I used to get teased by like all the white girls for having big lips, and they'd be like, like doing all that. But now it's trendy. And then like the same girls that I would be in school with, like maybe like 2 years ago, would be like, you're so lucky that you don't have to pay for them. Like, okay, because I like popped out the pussy looking like this. But like, same thing with like BBLs, right? Like BBLs are, first of all, extremely very dangerous. But I remember in middle school, like, oh, Kemi stuffs her butt. But then like these same people are getting, BBLs or like doing outrageous squat routines to try to make their butts bigger because it's trendy. And it's like, I think what Jess is saying as far as like the aesthetic cultural appropriation, it's like you're trying to look like something because it's trendy, whereas other people, that's just like the way that they look. Like there was TikTok of this Persian girl who was saying like, it's amazing that people tell me that I'm white passing, which to me, she would be white passing. Like I wouldn't even think twice about it. But she's like, it's amazing that people tell me that I'm white passing when in 2007, no one would have ever said that because white girls didn't look like me. But like,
which is a great thing for you to say, Kemi, because when I get booked off of looking Latina. Now there are white girls that look exactly like me, but not because they naturally look like that. When you look at someone like Kylie Jenner, and let me get like, I want to do this disclaimer because I when I talk and I talk very passionately, it's going to sound like I'm mad, but I'm not very mad. I'm just very passionate about this, and I have nothing against these women, but this is just a matter of fact to me. This is just like, you would not be like, first of all, Kylie, you're fucking black men, first of all. Second of all, you're getting lip injections, you're getting BBLs, you're getting the snatched waist, you're getting all this. Like, you looked when you were 12, when you first started on Kardashians, you looked like a Jenner. You weren't looking like a Kardashian. You know what I mean? And so, and for that matter, like the Kardashians are definitely, again, nothing is wrong with doing it as long as you know where it's coming from. You are trying to look like, and if it's a trend, understand where the trend is coming from. And if you're white and you're saying, well, black women do it too because they dye their hair and they straighten it out. Well, yeah, you know what? That was because they were getting made fun of. That was because they were being oppressed. That's because they needed to assimilate to get by.
Like for
jobs, for things, because they were looked at as aggressive. And, there's a difference between doing it because you want to blend it in because you need to live your life and not out of necessity. And then taking what is someone else's that you used to make fun, that people used to make fun of and that people used to think was ugly, and then making it all of a sudden yours. Like someone like Kylie Jenner who said she invented wigs. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you invented wigs?
Let's remember what the root of the problem of all of this is. The patriarchy. It's the patriarchy that's running all. I'm not even joking. Like, whatever men find like sexually pleasing at the time is what is going to be trending with a woman's body type.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at all the early 2000s movies, like all the ones I grew up watching, even like Bring It On. They literally are like crying because they think that their ass is too fat, and I'm like.
Like, that is not a problem. That's not the problem here. And like, and I want to thank Ina for pointing this out, because every time I do go on rants like this, and when I do feel like I'm passionate, I always do have to make that disclaimer, because like I've always said and told people, I am white passing at this point in time. But as soon as I open up my mouth, white people know I'm not white. People, it's so there is. Like, I've always been told, like, Jessica, you need to bring down your.
Just like Russian. I think we had this conversation in the house. I was like, yeah, I would have thought you were Russian or something. Like,
You know,
it's so interesting too, because like you said, I think I saw a TikTok of this like 2 days ago. And it was this woman, she was talking about Kylie Jenner. The woman herself was Latina, and she was talking about how because of Kylie Jenner, there are people that will tell her that she is like white passing because she looks like Kylie Jenner. And it's like, no, like Kylie Jenner looks like me. Like when she's talking about that, it's like, no, like this is so crazy how it's like completely changed. But yeah, I mean, you're right. And that's a really big trend around like in this area as well. Especially like if you go back and look at some of Rachel's older pictures, it's very clear she used a lot of like Instagram like presets and everything that are very, very common amongst like sororities around this area. They're designed really to just like make you look really, really tan in like all the pictures and stuff, but like you end up looking kind of like racially ambiguous. And I mean, it's honestly kind of like a joke around here a lot of times about like girls using like the orange filter or whatever, like on their pictures and stuff. But like, if you really think about it, like that's kind of it too, is like, what are you trying to look like? Like, why are you trying to be like 15 shades darker in every single one of your pictures? Like, it's.
Yeah. And like, to be honest, I mean, you guys know this. Like, I'm all for, if you want to get plastic surgery, do it. Like, if you want to get your whole everything done, do it. Like, literally, you have one life to live. Do what makes you happy. But like you guys said, like, I think, like, there's so many levels to this. Like, first of all, I feel like a lot of young girls are influenced by the media. So you're not even fully developed before you're making this decision. Like me, for example, like I was 19 when I got my first boob job. And like, I mean, I was fully developed and I wanted D's, but it's still like, I mean, I feel like if I was older, I might not have gotten it. So it's like, yeah. And like Molly May from Love Island UK, like she got like her whole face looks completely different than what she actually looks like. Like she got so many fillers and like, not veneers, but like crowns and like lip fillers, like her whole like jaw fillers, everything. And she talks about how she regrets it so much because she was so young when she started getting it that she just looks back and she feels sorry for herself. And I feel like that's like a big part of it too. But it's also like you have to realize that you're feeding into this beauty trend. Like, let's say that Sephora is trying to push purple lipstick and they have $1 million budget. They're gonna go to all of like these like niche influencers or like big influencers and then also niche influencers, and all those bitches are gonna be wearing purple lipstick over the course of like 2 months. Next thing you know, you see yourself in CVS picking up some purple lipstick that you would have never been wearing in the first place. So it's like, I feel like a lot of introspection is required a lot of the time. And it's hard because like you're constantly consuming content and like media of things that are just influencing you. But know yourself, sweetheart.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a whole thing. I saw this, I think it was like a thread that I saw on Twitter, and it was a woman, she was talking about like kind of the issues, like on the one hand, I agree. I think that, if you have something that you want to change about yourself and you're an adult and, you can afford it, like you should be allowed to without people constantly questioning you. But on the other hand, there is, I mean, and I'm kind of like going through this now, like just because you're 18 doesn't mean that you're done developing and that you're done changing. And I can see this like personally, like my body type is completely different than it was when I was 18. I think when I was 18, I was like 105 pounds. Like this is totally different. And like, I think they talk, about, women that like your mid 20s, you go through kind of like a second kind of like puberty, and your body like completely develops in a different way. And your face changes and everything. And so it's like, the woman in question, I think she was like an injector or something, like that's what she did professionally. And I think that's what she was trying to say was like, you know, you might already naturally end up having these things and these features that you want without having to pay for them if you just give yourself the time. Like if you just give your body the time to like grow into who you are. Because and that's a whole other thing too, is, you know, people thinking that when you're in your teens or late teens, you're supposed to look like a fully developed grown ass woman. And like, it's just not realistic for a lot of people. Like you're not going to look like Kylie Jenner at 18, your body type for a lot of people. And if you do, like, that is amazing. And I wish that I'm sure a lot of people wish that they did, but like, it's just not realistic for a lot of people. And you shouldn't immediately think that you need to spend $10,000 before you give yourself the chance to grow into who you are going to be. So, yeah. Anyways, I don't know how we got to talking about this, but
I know. Oh, we were just talking about well, I guess it was ultimately about like, if you're doing it, know why you're doing it. If you're going to an antebellum party, know what the fuck an antebellum party is. Know why you're wearing plantation dresses. Understand like why this is happening, like why you're doing what you're doing, you know?
Yeah.
Ultimately at this point, I think she says it, but it takes longer than 6 months for you to get this. There's shit that I say that I'm still, that I still get flack for. And I would say out of all my friends, like I have a very diverse mix of friends, you know? And so like, one thing that I do that I'm gonna give her credit for though is that the post that she posted on her Instagram, where she again like kind of apologized for what she did to the season and kind of put everybody in high regards. Like the pic,
the one last night.
The one last night.
Awesome.
Okay. I will say that the one thing that I do wish that she did differently is one very specific question that Emmanuel asked her. He asked her like what she has been doing to educate herself and learn. And she said, I could sit here and tell you that I've done this and this and that. And then she went on to like kind of change the subject. And I feel like, you know, while I like still stand behind what I said initially, like it's hard to be, you know, in this position where you're answering these like very like hot topic questions and etc. You have to answer the question that was asked. Like, I feel like it's important not to be evasive because it makes you look dismissive in these situations. Like, I feel like you should always in these situations directly answer the question. So that's like the one thing that I think.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah. I totally agree. Because it also could have been, you know, like 4 people watching this in the same situation who had, you know, said things that were racist in the past, or, you know, done things in the same way that she had. Like, this would be a great time to kind of plug what you've read or what you're listening to or whatever.
I mean, she took the picture and she put it on her, you know, she took a picture of the book, whether she opened it up, you know, or if it was a spoiler.
I would like to think that she has actually read things or listened to things, hopefully. There's no really way for us to know that, just from that conversation at least. But I do kind of wonder, I see some people talking about that in the comments. I wonder, like, I don't know why they would. I mean, do you think production could have like edited out anything like that? Or do you think like, I wonder if her PR team, because part of me wonders just from like that side of it, like, do you think that her PR team like recommended her not like just list everything because then people may say something about that, or like, I don't know.
I feel like if she had a halfway decent PR team, she could have very easily been like, well, Emmanuel, I actually read your book, and there's one thing that you said in there about et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, just come, like, even if it was fake, just come with something specifically offhand. Like, not that it could be fake, but
yeah. And I definitely agree that things have been edited. I mean, we've seen time and time again. I mean, you've taken out production has taken out full dates. You know what I mean? They've taken out
people.
You know, as people were talking in the chat, yeah, we're very, very aware. We kind of spoke a little bit about it earlier on that Bree was there, that Bree did talk to Emmanuel. Bree did not get to talk to Matt, and all of that was edited out. And the idea was that, you know, her, just like what she added to the conversation was just not as important as the conversations that they were having. They only had enough time to show certain things. And while that really, really sucks for Bree, because this was her, this was also her feelings, and this was also her experience. She does have a great podcast out with Nick Viali, and she kind of goes through all of it, and she kind of mentions that she didn't have any issues in the house. There was she was an unproblematic queen for a reason, and the fact that she's being cut out and all of this is because she remains to be unproblematic, and the fact that she just has nothing to say on that fact because she says she has not lived through it, so she can't really comment on all of these things because she didn't experience and she didn't see it, and she doesn't feel the same way. And she also mentions that she was on the show knowing that she needed a job afterwards. So there was a lot of things that she didn't say, and then she kind of sat in the back. Like, she was an unproblematic queen, like, on purpose, like.
Imagine if everyone else in life, in reality TV, went through life like that. There would be so much less canceling. It's like, well, let me hold myself in a specific regard. That way I don't embarrass, I don't do anything that could potentially harm my future. Like, imagine everyone's like that.
And she said she's close, and she said she was close to Rachel. And she, at this point, like, the thing is that Rachel's not canceled, which, like, I feel like a lot of people may feel like she should be, or she shouldn't be. Like, at this point, like, a lot of people from Bachelor Nation, or like the girls on her season, are being very supportive of what she's going through, and are literally teaching her or trying to motivate her to keep learning.
Like, all the comments on like Matt's photos or anything like that, literally almost all of them have been, at least from when I checked like this morning, it's so disturbing, honestly. Like, almost all of them are like, Rachel deserves better than you, and like, if you were a real man, you would have stood by her side. It's just like, so these people
kind of,
but you know what,
concept of like what really happened at all. They just think that this is like a man who didn't want to commit, and it's like so much more complicated than that.
I see that, but did you guys not get the feeling that even Emmanuel was kind of surprised at his reaction?
Yeah, and I was kind of like confused by that in a way, because I thought that Emmanuel, like, I don't know, like, I really am not super familiar with him and like his journalism's like style or anything like that, and I do think that his goal was to make like both parties comfortable, at all times. But like, it definitely did kind of seem like there for a minute he was kind of like implying that he thought that Matt should be like.
I thought he set him up. Like, it felt like almost like he was setting him up for like, so it's not gonna happen. Like, why? Like, kind of almost like, really?
I think he had a script though. Like, I think.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I feel like that's like the producers wanted there to be a question of like, well, are you guys ever gonna make amends? And then to kind of push them to like. I mean, I'm sure that they would have loved for them to have made public amends and like reunited on television. But yeah, I just it was odd. And I think that if you think that it's as simple as like Matt should have stood by his woman in her time of need.
Like, they have not been together for 5 years for him to stand next to his woman. Like,
yeah, I mean, people break up over much smaller things.
Absolutely.
So,
this is
like
a major.
and you're like in the public eye in the middle of all of this. Like, I just reevaluate. Like,
when you get married to someone, there are people that get divorced over money issues, over, not seeing, like, growing in different ways. Like, if you've only been with someone for like 4 or 5 months, and the one thing that you don't get is the reason why he's going through what he's going through because he's Black, which is something he cannot change. And with like knowing someone for 5 months isn't going to want you to just automatically stick with them for the rest of your life and having to teach them for the rest of your damn life, like what it's like to be him.
He's not his child, like partners are just that. Like, you're partners. You're supposed to help work through things together, but like it shouldn't be his responsibility to like teach her how to navigate through life being his partner.
Yeah, like, you're responsible for yours.
I was hoping that he would have at least, I think he did a very horrible job in explaining it. And I would have preferred him to say, like, this is your journey and I need to, and hopefully if that journey comes to a place where we can be back together, or like where our paths cross again, then that would be amazing. But as of right now, like, we're just...
Yeah, I don't think he had to do that though.
No, he didn't. But it was just like the way he said it, or
he feels that way. Like, I don't think he sees a reconciliation between them. But I do think that production via Acho were pushing that, and there's only so much he can do without making himself like look like an asshole. Because at this point, it's like,
well, I think he did a really good job, honestly, of not making her look worse. Like, I think that he could have made her look a lot worse. And
absolutely,
like, to me, it felt like he was holding back in a way when he talked about, like, he really didn't deep dive into their whole conversation, essentially, of him having to explain to her what was wrong with what she did. And I think that he still was like protecting her in a way, and like protecting kind of like her public image in that way, because I mean, he didn't go into all of that, but it was very obvious that like for at least a little while there that she didn't think there was an issue. And I think he allowed her to talk about, her growth or whatever that she has had in the past, a couple of weeks since then. I think he could have made her look a lot worse. So like, the fact that there are people in comments saying that like he didn't stand by her or whatever, like, I mean, this.
And I think honestly, him going easy on her is also him knowing the audience. Like, I think he's been done with her for quite some time, and I think they both know that there's no reconciliation. But I feel like she's hopeful, and I feel like he knows that the audience is predisposed to being on her side, so he can't come down too hard on her. Otherwise, it's just not going to be a good look for him.
No, yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, there's already people that think that they, were like ganging up on her or whatever, when that was so obviously not the case. But can you imagine? I mean, I'm going to be honest here, like, I think most people in this situation would be a lot more visibly angry and would have a lot sharper tongues in the things that they said about this situation. And like, I just, I don't know. I think that people should be grateful that it wasn't worse than it was.
Absolutely. I still don't understand why he couldn't give her a hug though. Like, I mean,
for what?
Why?
What do you mean why? I mean, it's like
they hugged at the beginning. I think it was really
and he hugged Michelle after too. Like, it's like, what did she do? Like, what did she directly like do at that moment when she's saying, I'm learning, I'm trying, I love you, I want all of this stuff? And he's saying like,
maybe he was upset. Like,
it's just so uncomfortable too, because it's like, I felt like, I don't know, that was the one thing that I really didn't like that Emmanuel did, was like, he kind of like pushed that. And I thought it was just really awkward. Like, this is somebody who's visibly, obviously, like really upset. And I feel like by hugging her at the end, it's kind of like a silent statement in saying that, like, you know, like, I'm still upset, but like, I forgive you or whatever. And I think that like, I don't think he does. And I think that's okay. Like, I don't
think he does, because I don't think she gets it. Like, I think she gets it to the public, but obviously more conversations were had between the two of them than.
Oh, definitely. There's a lot of information that we are obviously not privy to. So like, there's definitely way more than just that. There's probably questions about, and there was one thing that I needed to, because when he started to talk about Rachel, it almost sounded like he was trying to make excuses for her. This whole, she doesn't, what was it? Maybe she doesn't know what it's like to be black. And it was like, wait, what? Matt, what was it? What's the correct?
Oh yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
That she doesn't know what it's like to be
black in America. He said Rachel may not know what it's like to be black in America. No, it's not that she may not know. It's that she doesn't know.
I don't think that was like. I don't think that he meant that in a way that was like, I don't know if she knows. I think he meant it more so in a way that like, she doesn't get like the struggles that I go through. Not like she hasn't walked my walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other things where he said, like, he was asked the moments what happened during the moments that you found out about the photos, you know? And he was just basically, I was giving her the benefit of the doubt of like the things she might have attended. And it's like, no, it wasn't that she might have attended them. Like, she's actually attending them. There are pictures of her attending them. Like, there were certain things that was like, in the beginning, it sounded like he was kind of covering up for her.
It honestly, and like, this might just be me trying to give him the benefit of the doubt again, but it might come down to like conversation style, like the way people say things. Like, you know, like sometimes when I say things to you, Jess, I'll be like, Jess, let me ask you something. Would you say that we're friends? Like,
oh yeah,
you know, it might just come down to like conversation style.
Yeah. And also, like, to be fair too, like, he had just finished up this whole journey. Like, you just finished up this whole thing of this happening, and like, you're in that honeymoon period. And I think that like most people, because the first things that came out were not the pictures. That was not the first things that came out. The first things that came out were her liking pictures of other people in front of, you know, Trump signs and things like that at like a party or whatever. And I think those are two, like, that is problematic, but I think those are two very different things. And like, I feel like you would be, if you had just gone through this whole process and you're with somebody that you feel like you're in love with, I feel like you would not be super immediate at like just wanting to accept all of this. Like, I feel like you would want to believe that, you know, you made the right choice and that the person that you love is who you think they are. And so the whole incident was not just those pictures. Like, the pictures came out later on, and that was kind of like the icing on top of other things that had happened, and like things that her parents were saying and things like that. And that's a whole other level to it too, is like, we've got this whole situation with her parents saying things, you know, her mother being like very active on Facebook and stuff this whole time and talking about, you know, whatever. And like, that's a whole other level to it too. You know, he has to think about, you know, he would be a part of this family, and like he'd be a part of this family. And if they don't understand, that's a constant struggle that he's going to have at any function that he goes to, for any holiday, for any event, anything like that, for the rest of his life. And it's also the people that you're subjecting your children to be like a part of their lives as well. And if they don't understand that, then like, I mean, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of levels to it, but it's not just the pictures. And I totally get why in the beginning he or anyone else would want to believe that they had made the right choice and not just immediately take all this in and just dump the person within like a day. I don't know.
Absolutely. There's just like, there's so much, obviously there's so much, but we've already been on here for an hour and 45 minutes, y'all. I know that that's kind of crazy. And this is like the finale. We, you know, finishes, obviously we have so much more to talk about, but we're going to keep this short. The Bachelorettes, they give us Katie, they give us Michelle. And obviously, I'm pretty sure that they were looking at all the backlash when people were finding out, or maybe they are doing this for feelers. Like, you know, they put out Katie and everybody's talking shit about Katie being it, and then bringing Michelle.
You know what they said? I read that that Michelle was asked originally, but because she is a teacher, that she didn't want to leave her students for a second time during the year, because Katie's season is about to start filming like next week. And so I thought that was really sweet. And, you know, if she does have this bond with her students, I get like she didn't want to leave them or whatever. And I thought that was really sweet. So if that is the case, you know, I'm glad that then we get Katie first, and then we get to have Michelle too. Like, I'm happy with it. I'm happy we get both of them. They were definitely my top choices, and I'm glad that we get 2 seasons. To me, it's like, you know, the more content, the better. I'm happy with it.
I also feel like it's aggressively transparent the way like this is about to go. You know, like Katie is going to get a very Hannah B-esque season, and Michelle is going to get a Becca season. Like, Katie's going to be entertaining for sure. Maybe she'll fall in love. Who knows? But it's going to be the season for like entertainment. Michelle is going to be the love story. Like, I feel like that's the only way I can see this working out, because Michelle, like, there really honestly is just so much to say about like silent confidence, and that's just like exactly what I see in Michelle. Like,
yeah,
I love it so much.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited to see it all go down. That will probably be, guys, the next time you see, aside from like the challenge, will probably be when we get back together for like the Bachelorette. That is if Acho doesn't take Michelle first. Or how I'm predicting it is that she's going to go through the whole Bachelorette stuff because she already has her contract. She's not going to pick anybody. And then she's going to then start dating Acho.
Oh, my God.
I
would rather that be the case, because she deserves her Bachelorette season first.
Absolutely. So since this is the final rose, after the final rose, out of, I guess someone had asked, out of you know, for the season, how would you rate this season?
You know what? I would say that Matt was a pretty decent bachelor.
He was better than Peter.
Oh my God. I really hope they bring Peter to Paradise, because that is
I never want to see that man again. Ever.
Cringe content is what I live for. Like,
just go watch his TikTok. We don't need him.
Does he dance?
He's so cringe. He's super cringy.
I don't like him.
I don't like him either. But you know, I would probably give this like a solid 7. It would have been higher. I feel like it would have been higher had the whole, you know, underlying racism, the whole Chris situation, like all of that.
You can't separate it, because honestly, when all that news broke, it started making us look at Rachel differently and looking for issues in her. So it was hard to enjoy the season knowing that he ended up with, her. So
I give it a 6.
I'll split the difference, 6.5.
Oh, wow. Okay, between a 6, 6.5, and a 7. See? None of us agreed on anything. That's beautiful. We really want to thank you guys for you who actually stayed on for the whole hour and 50 minutes of this conversation. We know that there were a lot of topics that obviously we don't typically talk about when recapping. But I'm kind of sad. I'm sad that this is the last time we're going to be talking about The Bachelor for quite a bit.
For quite some time, baby.
Yeah. So for those of you...
it's not fun sometimes, but
it's not. It's hard. It's hard, y'all. Guys, I just want to say this. Like, it is. I want to thank, Cami, Hannah. I was thank myself, but I can't really thank myself. But for actually taking the time, like to take an hour, 2 hours out of every week, and not even talking about like taking notes and watching this and maybe watching it back and being like, oh my God, and having to prepare for things like this and talking to you all. Like it takes some work, especially since this isn't our jobs, like our full-time jobs. So, we want to thank for everybody who goes on and comments. If you didn't already, like the video, share it with somebody. I would say click like, subscribe, notifications. As of right now, as Kemi said, we're going to be recapping the challenge on Thursday. We'll keep you posted at when, what time, and all of that good stuff. Every so often, we will be posting a Big Brother Canada recaps on here as well. And and when we figure out when the next Bachelorette season starts, we'll be back on it. I know that there were some people who were asking us for Survivor recaps. Again, that is going to take a lot of time. So we will keep y'all posted. Yeah, well, it's not a no, but it's a we will see.
But I would like to say that I'm not sure which one of you, if anyone, plans on watching the Challenge OG All-Stars, I think.
Oh, yes. I forgot
about that. I will definitely be watching that. So if you guys would like us to recap that, it's going to be on Paramount Plus. Please just drop a comment after we post the video and let us know.
Yes, that's a for sure, and I will definitely be watching because Alton's going to be on it, and Daryl.
You're married, Jess.
And Daryl. So what does that have to do with anything?
You can still look and enjoy.
Yes. I mean, it's TV for crying out loud. I mean, so what if there's 2 or 3 degrees of separation and I could probably talk to him? I mean,
it's probably less than that because
because I already and not that I've already talking to him.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying. But anywho, yes. Again, click like, subscribe, click to receive those notifications because we are looking into Challenge OGs, Bachelor, Bachelorette. So there's still a lot to recap. And we love you guys. Thank you so much. Follow us on IG, on Twitter, all the handles, all of our stuff is in the comments. And is that all, ladies?
Thanks
is this our goodbye?
Watching this with us and bearing through it. And I think we... besides all of the regular bachelor drama, I feel like we had good conversations, and I appreciate all of you.
Yeah, I definitely do appreciate every one of you that comes in every week and comments and talks to us and even schools us on a couple of things that we didn't even know. And so for that, we appreciate you all so very much. You are our family. And like that, we will say, peace out. Love you guys.